Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another awesome episode of Life in a Show podcast. Today, we're going to talk about sales. Now, this is a topic that can galvanize a lot of people, and you could be split on one side of the aisle or the other as to whether you love sales or whether you hate sales, whether you embrace them, whether you reject them, whether you feel good about the topic, or whether you run away. Dude, this is such an important topic because this really is everything in every part of our life. Now, we're going to talk specifically about business and entrepreneurship, but like you know, my kids sell me every day on letting them stay up 5 minutes late, right? And that's an exchange, and they're selling me, really. They don't know it yet. And so like sales, persuasion, influence, they're all very, very relevant for getting anything we want, but in addition to like serving other people and to making a meaningful exchange, I guess you could say, of assets.
Yeah, and I think, doesn't matter what business you're in, I think this is one of the number one skill to learn. So I think it's a very important topic. And we started the Life in Our Lab for our members here. And that was one of the first topics that we actually talked about for the entire community because it is such an important topic, right? So, and I think there's a lot of misconception about sales out there. So let's jump on this and kind of help people.
Well, let's just so to tell you why, the first reason this is important is because if you're a business owner, before you can do anything, you have to be able to sell someone on your idea or your product or your service. And so, I see a lot of people try to jump ahead and try to automate their system and work on the back end operations and build all this infrastructure when in fact they haven't even sold anybody on this idea. And it's really important, like you got to make sure there's interest. And so this is the very first step. If you're ever going to make money, selling is the only way to do that. Like I want to rephrase that. Look around your office right now, your car, wherever you're listening right now, and every single thing around you. I'm looking at my microphone, I'm looking at my desk, I'm looking at my stream deck, I'm looking at my camera, I'm looking at my, my scissors. Like all of these things were sold to me by someone else. And so this is just how society works, and this is how capitalism works, and it's valuable. Now, I bought all these things because I want them, and so this is one of the first things to recognize is when you're selling to someone who you can help and who wants what you have to offer. Why would you feel bad about that? Why would you feel guilty about that?
Yeah, and I think it comes from what we've been brought up as, and what comes from the fact that the word sales, the connotation around it, like what people think about it. So think about the listening right now. When I say sales, what you hear? What's the first thing pops into your head? For some people,
like the guy with the cigar at the used car lot, like with the tinted sunglasses.
Right. So you have to reframe that conversation in your head because guess what? You don't want to be that guy, right? So that's the number one thing. You have to figure out what it is going on in my head when it comes to sales. If I don't want to have sales, if I don't want to have those kinds of conversations, I'll go on the internet or post a social media post and, quote unquote, sell. There is a conversation that I need to reframe in my head that I have about sales. So that's number one. If you can reframe that in the way I've done it, I'm a servant. Not a sales, but a servant. So someone has a problem, I have a solution, and I'm a servant to help them solve their problem. And when you start looking from that perspective, you start showing up differently, not only in your head, but when you talk to people, when you go meet with them, when you post stuff on the internet. You know what I mean? So I think it's the number one thing.
I like that. I also like the idea of being a connector. You are connecting someone else with an asset that you have, and they are connecting you with something they have. So for instance, you have a marriage workbook to help you get the best marriage you've ever thought of, and somebody else has money and you give them that because they want it, and then in exchange of that value as a direct representation of how much they see that as being something that can help them, they will give you money for it. So it's an exchange. And so you said something that's really important, and that is like the reason why the framing is important. And I know this sounds like kind of like high level woo-woo, like mindset stuff, which some people dismiss. But unless you really understand and embrace and internalize this perspective, you're not going to have conviction around what you sell. And the reason why that's important is because if you don't have conviction, it's going to come across like you don't believe in it yourself. Your tone's going to be wrong. It's going to come off as pushy. You're going to come off just not in a positive way, because your job as a salesperson, Number one is to convey you want to convey the belief you have in what you have to offer to that prospect. And that's a prospect isn't going to have the level. Let's say if you really believe in what you're selling and you believe in the process of sales in and of itself as being something that's beneficial, you will naturally extend and talk and say the things that are important for that person to accept that conveyance of confidence. And they'll be like, wow, like he's pretty fired up about this. Like, and they're going to sense it versus you just kind of trying to sell something and just make a commission. Like that's the real differentiator, I think.
Yeah. So he touched on something that I want to make sure that you guys are hearing clearly is that you have to, beyond a shadow of a doubt, absolutely necessary, believe in what you are providing, whether it's a product or service, whatever it might be, you have to believe in it. Because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to come across the right way. Not on your own head, but only to the other person. So that's number two. You have to believe in it. So you're going to have to look from the perspective, what is it about this particular product that I really love, that I believe it's going to provide for the other person that I need to get clear on. Then the next thing is, think about it this way. If you figure out that belief, then you're going to have to go over to the other side, what that other person is, whoever that buyer is. So it's a group of people, whoever it might be, that you have to get into their shoes and see what is that really, truly their problem that your product or your solution is actually providing. So you have to get over there in their listening. Like, have you ever been to some kind of a sales presentation, or you sat down with a salesperson, whatever, and they literally talk the entire time, and you're just waiting for them to stop talking so you can give out the sale?
Right.
And I think that's an important aspect to consider, because most of the time when it comes to the sales, if you're quiet, if you listen, if you ask questions, you are going to do a lot better job, and it's going to be a lot simpler for you to be able to have this kind of conversation. So being over there in their shoes, listening, asking questions, being curious, and how your product, because you believe in it, is going to help them is really, really powerful.
And the other thing with the listening is you don't want to be listening to get ammunition, but you want to get information as to, is this a good fit for them? Like if they express, and by the way, this is one of the best sales techniques, if you want to call it a technique. I don't even like that word when it comes to this. But one of the best techniques is getting the prospect to share with you openly what their challenges are, and then you listening completely objectively. Forget about the fact that you're going to make money from this if you sell it. Let go of that, because that's clouding your judgment. Let go of that and say, hey, does what I have help them? And are they someone who could benefit from this? And that is the best way. And if you approach them, and even, here's another like tactic, but it's true, is like if you sit on the same side of the table with them, like that not only reflects the mindset of you truly being on their side, but it also like is just a physical representation of like, I want what's best for you. And so, for instance, like, and that actually means something, because if you have that genuine intention in your heart, and you are you're unattracted to the, I need this commission. By the way, people smell that. It's called commission breath. And you really just approach them like, hey, I think this would be great for you. And if you'd like, I can tell you about the program, or I'll tell you about the product, or I'll tell you about the service. Like those are the kinds of things you do. And you'll meet with much less resistance. They will sense that you're coming from a good place, and you're much more likely to actually end up making a good match if it is a good match.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. The other thing that I think, especially in today's world, most likely since 2000, 2011, no, not 2011, 2021, 2020, 2021, since that time, I think a lot of people have lost trust in, other whatever. So one thing I would ask you to consider is that when you are having these kinds of conversations, building the trust and authenticity is really, really, really important. It's really, you have to sit down and, work on that before you actually, have the sale kind of conversation. How you do that? I mean, sometimes when you're sitting on one-on-one with someone, they talk about something specific, be empathetic to that. You know what I mean? Share maybe a little bit of your story that's aligning with them, like being vulnerable maybe in that conversation will build that trust with the other person. And actually being authentic. Like, don't try to make something that you're not, or trying to be someone that you're not. I mean, I see so much on the internet, people like, I got the Lambo or whatever it might be. And it just, you can totally like just see it like that guy's totally like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, shyster kind of a thing, right? So when you start looking from that perspective, I think that trust, authenticity, the service thing, like Roger was talking about, like that this thing is actually going to help them, is going to help you tremendously when it comes to these sales conversations.
When it leads you into the right conversation. So, for instance, if you really care about them, you're gonna understand and ask. Like, there's two things that are relevant for this discussion to figure out if it's a good fit. Ask them what they're struggling with. What is their desire? What are they hoping happens? Now, this comes in two flavors: either pain that they're running away from, or pleasure they are running towards. And so, for instance, let's say you have a I don't know, landscaping company. The pain that they could be running away from is the embarrassment of having an overgrown yard and weeds everywhere, and their yard looks like horrible next to their next door neighbors, and they're embarrassed, and they're going to get an HOA notice and a violation here soon, and they're reminded of it every single time they come home, right, or they leave their house. The pleasure could be like, hey, I want a home that I can be proud of, that every time I pull up, I'm like, wow, like that looks awesome, and other people look at my yard and say, oh wow, like their yard looks fantastic. Like those are just examples, but like that the heart and the intention of finding out what's going on with them leads to this discussion of pain and pleasure, and that actually literally ask them about that. So hey, what do you tell me? Tell me what makes you interested in my service. Like, let's say you're a counselor. Hey, what brings you in today? What are you hoping to solve? What's going on? And literally just listening and finding out what they're struggling with, and then find out what are they moving towards. Hey, so tell me, what would you like this relationship to look like? Have them describe that. So they're describing what their future, their ideal improved future with your product or service looks like, as well as the pain if they don't do anything, if they continue on the path they're on. And so, for instance, I'll just give you an example. Like, so Life Inner has a membership program. We have a couple different levels. Titanium is our high level program. And we screen people to make sure they are a good fit for the program. So like, we don't just, we're drinking our own Kool-Aid here. We follow the exact same principles we're telling you guys. And so the first thing I'll do is like, hey, so what is it that makes you interested in Titanium? And I let them tell me, and that gives me an opportunity to say like, hey, this is a good fit, or it's not. If they, for instance, if someone's life is great and their business is great, I'll be like, well, it sounds like you don't really need the help. What is it that you're interested in? And they'll be like, well, I want to be around other people that are also successful in doing these things. I'm like, oh, okay. So again, like, I'm not going into like a prescription mode. I'm in listen mode. And that's important. So remember that, don't listen, don't prescribe. And so when I have that conversation with them, like, I will be like, so tell me what are the things that have held you back. Tell me the things that you're struggling with. Tell me what's going on. And then where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want to be in 3 years? Paint that picture for me so that I can understand if we can help them. And so it's the same thing regardless of your business. Find out if you can help them, if you're a good match. And I will tell you, saying no to the wrong clients is it can be one of the hardest things to do when you're just starting off, because you need every dollar. I get it. I've been there, but you will do yourself way more harm in the long term by continuing to serve people that won't benefit from that. And that's not only in terms of like, you might have a difficult client who kind of runs you through the ropes, or you might have, a negative review. You're not going to get a testimonial. You're not going to get a referral. Like, so you always want to just match that stuff up. And again, it all comes back to that conversation.
Yeah. And if you're listening carefully what he's saying, it's more of like an interview, more of a conversation, as opposed to me trying to sell you this thing, whatever it might be. It is like he's asking questions, an interview, right? It's like a going back and forth kind of a thing. And when you start looking from that perspective, all of a sudden, it doesn't become a sales conversation. It becomes this really engaging conversation that, hopefully what's going to end up happening is your service, your product, whatever, is really going to help them, because you believe in it and it's going to help them. You know what I mean? And you believe it's going to help them. So it changes how you start to operate. One thing I would not do definitely is, I think sometimes it's important for people to see like, okay, I want to make sure that this is who I am not in those conversations, right? And just outline those things so you're clear on that. But if you're looking, what we were talking about here constantly is being a servant, believe in your product, build a trust, report, having the maybe some stories, being vulnerable maybe in the conversations, asking a lot of questions, getting to know them, what's important to them, what's their pain, what they're going towards. And that's when you're going to, in a way, they're going to tell you what they need and what they want. And then if your product or service aligns with it, you give it to them. That's basically what it comes down to,
One other thing I'd say is that a valuable, in addition to the right perspective, another valuable asset for you to help convince that person and to show, I shouldn't say convince, to show them of what's possible for them is to really have demonstrable proof for this.
And so what kind of proof?
Demonstrative.
What does that mean?
Demonstrative proof, maybe?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So basically that means like
right?
You're showing them
you're
success stories. You're showing them testimonials. You've helped other people in the past. And if you don't have those, if you're just starting out, that's okay. I get it. You got to get that though. And this is because people are speculative. They are cynical sometimes, and even and for good reason. But having that bucket of proof of overwhelming, like, hey, it's unreasonable for me to believe as a prospect that they can't help me after they've shown me these 50 people that they helped or 100 people. Life in Here, I don't know, we have 100 and I don't even know how many, 150 plus whatever, 4-5-star reviews on Google Business Reviews, right? Like, so, what are the factors that you can show this person instead of just you telling them? Because listen, they're still going to, even if they believe you, you are still one person, one perspective. And so, even if they take the bias out of it, you're still only one person. So this is why, for instance, on Amazon, one of the first things that I do is look at the star review and how many people left those stars. If I saw 5 stars, but there's only 3 reviews, it doesn't mean as much to me as if I saw 4 stars and 1,000 reviews. So, so you got to collect that too. So just to kind of summarize some of the main points here, it's having the right heart, it's having the right perspective, it's asking them about their future desired outcome as well as what they're struggling with now, with the pain they're trying to avoid, and then really just providing proof to help demonstrate to them that you can help and have helped many people like them in the past.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to add to what you just said about this, proof, testimonials kind of a thing. If you don't have any, and this goes back to the believing in the product or the service. If you are the beneficiary of the product or service because you used it, you went through it, guess what? You're a testimonial. You can start, using yourself, your story to say, listen, I've done it, went through it, and I did it. If this is when you're beginning, obviously having from someone else is much more impactful, but you can start with you. And that's when the belief comes in. And I believe that whoever is, whatever you're selling, the product or service, you should experience it yourself to, make that belief stronger kind of thing within you. So,
yeah. You know what? Here's just a little side note. You don't have proof yet. Go get it and do it for free. Just serve some people for free. Say, hey, I'm going to do this for free in exchange for testimonial. If you enjoyed it, if you like it, I just ask that you leave a review. Get a handful of those and you can start charging.
Right on.
All right, here we go. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you are interested in learning more about the Life in Here membership, just shoot us an email at support@lifeinhere.com, and we'd be happy to have that conversation with you to see if we can help you. Otherwise, please leave us a review, leave us a rating. That's how we reach more people and change more lives. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.